cinema has hundreds of first-person shooters to choose from, including a recent remake of the very first one. Yes, welcome to Wolfenstein 2009, or Willkommen aus Wolfenstein 2009, as the Nazis would say. I'm a tit. It's set in 1943, and you play an American hero called B.J. Blazkowicz, although you might as well be a bit of rag on a stick for all the difference it makes. The setup is pretty standard stuff for a first-person shooter. You've got some vaguely authentic World War II weapons, and you set about unrelentingly slaughtering members of the Third Reich without a care for their families, although I like to spice things up by imagining their backstories. This is Kurt. He's a dad of 3. That's Christmas for your kids. This is Henning. He's got a sweetheart back home who's going to be missing him. It's alright, he's a Nazi. As we all learned in documentaries like Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Nazis weren't just uniformed retro anti-Semites. No, they were also well into the occult, and the Nazis in Wolfenstein aren't any different. Anyway, it's not just the Nazis who go all magic, it's also you, or rather B.J. Blazkowicz, the dick you're having to be. Early on, B.J. finds a magic amulet thing that gives him special abilities, like the ability to access a sort of alternate reality called the Veil, which looks like a sort of 1940s version of Tron. He's also got the power to slow down time, so he can shoot Nazis in the neck in slow motion. Like this. It all looks pretty enough, in as much as an occult rerun of World War II can look pretty, and the game isn't bad, it's just not hugely exciting or innovative. The mix of realistic weapons and mystical silliness is a bit weird. And the World War II shooter is an oversubscribed genre that's been done better before. The Nazis are a bit of a pain in the arse as well, to be honest. They spend most of their time just spouting stupid Nazi catchphrases, which makes it feel a bit like you've just gone berserk on the set of Allo Allo, which would have made for a more interesting game. Get him now! Because the game is set up with a vague nod to open world scenarios, you have to spend a lot of time wandering around in between missions, endlessly retracing your steps in a depressing little town looking for jobs to do. It's like living in Stoke. And you have to have loads of conversations with all these really boring, humourless members of the resistance, which means you end up sympathising with the Nazis.
Agent Blazkowicz, the device you discovered in the basement is the tool portal.
I always find myself doing the same thing when I'm faced with a boring conversation in games like this. I just sort of wander pointlessly around the room and look from side to side while they're talking. Or sometimes just jump up and down pointlessly. And what are you going to do, talk the Nazis to death? Anyway, call me a fusty old man, but I think the original Wolfenstein had some humour to it and some charm, whereas this is just a game in which you find yourself fighting off the Nazis and déjà vu, sometimes with an axe.
You know what's coming next? It's TV funny man Dara O'Brien talking about something that annoys him when he plays games.
Games will deny you content if you're not good enough. If you haven't earned it, you don't get to see the latter part of the game. And that doesn't happen in any other medium. Rarely will a book stop you and go, are you understanding the book? Talk to me about the character's development in the initial 3 chapters. What themes have emerged? And if you incorrectly answer, it'll go, read the chapters again. That doesn't happen in other media. If you buy a Klaxons album, it doesn't go, your dancing isn't good enough. Dance again. Only then can you hear the rest of the album. If you're playing, say, Gears of War, right, this has been one of my favourite boss levels. The end of the 2nd chapter of it, there's a character called the Berserker, which is this monster who comes out, literally bursts out of a door going, and you have to lure the Berserker to smash through a door. So you stand there, and the Berserker sees you, and then he runs at you, and that gives you time to step away, and the Berserker runs and smashes the door. And then you run behind a pillar, and the Berserker gets confused and runs off, and then you run to the next bit. But the next bit's another door. And you have to do it again, but the door is narrower this time. And then you get to door number 2, and you think, great, I've got through it. Do you know what's behind door number 2? There's another fucking door. There is no need for there to be a 3rd door. It makes no sense that this building would have 3 hallways. And so you go in and you smash the 3rd. Apparently you've got to shoot them there. I have no idea. I've never got to that because I'm so freaked out by having gone through the first 2 doors that I have no idea what my fingers are doing. I'm offering him food. That's what I'm doing. Like I'm pressing the wrong button and I'm toggling through my inventory menu while this guy is running towards me. I'm picking different weapons. I'm supposed to be ducking and rolling away from him. And the Berserker just races straight through me and kills me. I've never finished it. That's 11% of the way through the game, which means, you know, there's 89% of Gears of War I never saw because of that fucker and the door. And that is just a story of my gaming life. GTA 4. I will admit this publicly, I have never seen Manhattan. You have to get the initial island, and there's various tasks, one of which was to assassinate a guy in an underground train station. But to get there, you have to go out of a Russian nightclub and steal a car and then drive across the city. And you're sitting in your own home going, I've got a day off work and I'm in a commute. I cannot believe that I've taken the time of my own to sit in fake traffic when I could be out in London driving somewhere nice in actual traffic. And there's a toll bridge when you get across the bridge. And if you drive through the toll bridge, the police will start chasing you, and so your game it's always a hassle. So you've got to pause at the toll bridge, he throws money in, and then you drive slowly in traffic to get to it. And if you don't kill the guy, you go all the way back to the Russian nightclub. There's no save point in the middle of it. I've never seen Manhattan, right? I'm sure Manhattan is a dream. I'm sure Manhattan in GTA 4 is a Manhattan of the 1920s, where it's all dun, 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 and that's where Nico Bellic's dreams all come true and you get a nice job in an office. I'm sure that's what happens. Anything can happen. You can meet a nice girl and settle down, just as long as you can just get to Manhattan. And I've never got him there. But sometimes it genuinely is illogical, right? I mean, Rock Band, for example. Rock Band, where is the whole point of Rock Band is you get to pretend to be your favourite band, right? And you get to, it's all wielding an axe and madness, right? But to get to the ones they promise on the back of the pack, which is like Sabotage by the Beastie Boys or stuff by The Who, you have to unlock them as it goes along. So every time you play one, admittedly you have to play it at an easy level, but you still have to play it. Like, you still have to play Maps by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, or a song made famous by Mountain and the Mississippi Walk. That wasn't made famous. No one's ever heard of Mountain. It never made them famous or the song famous. But you still got to play red, red, green, green, red, red, red. I'm not sure. Maybe that's the musician's life. Maybe that correctly mirrors that a musician has to do a lot of things before he can play the songs he wants to play. But in which case, just put in a mode where you have to suck a promoter's cock in order to unlock the later levels. You could use the guitar, and you could go, ah, and they'd be clicking on the, working the shaft. And then you could just earn the, well done, you have got the promoter off. You may now play the songs you want to play. And that's fine. Funny, 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 ha, 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 right? But the point remains, I bought that content. I bought that game because I wanted to play Sabotage by the Beastie Boys, and you, the game designer, are making me play songs I've never heard of, that I've no interest in playing, and you're buying 3 minutes of my life that I didn't want to spend with Weezer. I wanted to spend it pretending to be The Who, right? That's my content. I want it.
Simulation, computerized recreation of a real-world activity.
One of the very first Sims was Atari's eerie impersonal Battlezone, a tank simulator in which you hovered through a wireframe environment murdering blameless tanks. Flight sims have always been popular, albeit bewilderingly complex, and they're another good example of how graphics have evolved. The term simulation, or sim, covers everything from obvious applications like a flight sim or a racing game to more esoteric examples, like the grisly surgical slice-em-up trauma centre Second Opinion on the Wii.
Doctor!
Other Sims include the thrilling domestic drudgery of The Sims or the tranquil rural boredom of this farming simulator, which brings the excitement of being a f***ing Wurzel kicking and screaming into your computer.